In this video, I'm going to show you how to use SmartSuite Forms to collect information in a structured way from your internal users or your external audience. The forms information, as you get it all set up, will create records inside your SmartSuite account to help you organize all your information in one convenient view or layout. When we get this all dialed in, you'll walk away knowing what SmartSuite Forms are, what are the key features you need to know, and what should you watch out for to make sure that your forms look as professional as possible. If you haven't already, be sure to sign up for SmartSuite using our affiliate link in the description below. Thanks SmartSuite for sponsoring this video, and let's get started. Here we are inside the Agency Marketing Showcase template in SmartSuite. What is this, you might ask? This is one of SmartSuite's solution templates that you can add into your account inside your SmartSuite account for no additional charge. Just search for the word agency and you'll see this dude's smiling face and click Use Template. Once you're inside here though, navigate to the app called Work Requests because that's where we're going to find our example form together. If you already have a form in your own account, you can skip this step just as a reminder, but here's what we're going to be looking at together. This form is a view inside of SmartSuite, and a form view is just that. It's an area inside your overall app that allows you to view an input area for the database. So in this case, we have a work request form, which allows us to submit work request information. And whenever this form is submitted, it creates new work requests that show up in our normal data-e forms, such as this grid view here, where we have work requests by company. To create a form from scratch, you can click the little plus inside any relevant app and click Form. Note you can also have your forms inside SmartSuite's new folder feature. And these folders can be great if you have multiple forms that you want to keep organized and you don't really like the clutter of seeing them all spread out. Once you have your form in place, whether it's a new one, old one, or something in between, we can start building it. Once I give the form a name, I can choose whether or not I want my other team members inside this particular area to see it or not. For most people in most situations, public is probably going to be the option you want, but review this for your own use case. Once we do this, we're going to click Create View. Inside here, our default form is, well, let's just say a little uninspiring. It's just a blank document with a submit button. So we want to customize this form to suit our brand and make sure that we're providing clear instructions for whoever is going to be filling this in. Given our location here inside our SmartSuite hierarchy of being within the solution of agency marketing and within the app called Workspace Requests, we are going to be using this particular form to collect new project requests or client requests from our clients. So right at the get-go, we probably don't want SmartSuite's logo here. We probably want this to reflect our own brand name, brand voice, brand logo. When you click on the logo to change it here, you can choose a whole bunch of options, but I'm just going to click and drag a file I have on my computer and click Upload. Once we have that in there, we now have our own branding on our particular form. From here, we want to give this a title. If we want to be unoriginal, we could just call this New Work Requests, or if we want to be a little more fun, we could say, Have something you need? Or we could do something like Submit New Work Request. Either way, this will become the title of the form that the outside stakeholder sees. Please note that this form title here is different than the form name internally. So you can have two separate names. This one could just say Client Requests, and the other one could say Submit New Work Request because they are facing different audiences. I'm going to just categorize that inside my folder, and there we go. Below the form title, we have a description, and this is an area that I see most people just underutilize, but this description is an area for us to set the tone for what this form is all about. Why does it matter? Why is it providing you value? Why should I, as the client, spend the time to fill out this work request versus just send you an email? That's what we want to do in this description area. So type what comes to heart. I'll take a few minutes to type something here. So there we go. We're so excited to work with you. Here's why it matters to you. Please fill this in, and so on. After this, we're going to go ahead and add some form fields. This is the good stuff. This is where people are actually going to answer questions about themselves, and this information that they fill in will go into that other view we talked about. So what do we want first? Well, we probably want some kind of description of what this request is. And for that, we're probably going to drag the existing field called request title, drag that puppy onto our form. What else do we want to know? Probably what company this is for. Let's just say that, because we don't know this. This is just a form anyone can fill out. We want to be sure. And maybe the priority, like how important is this? Finally, we'll do a work request info, more information about the request, and I think the rest of these things we can just leave as is. Now, once we have these fields set up, we want to review each one to make sure that they are self-explanatory to the person submitting them. If we have a field that needs to be required, let's make sure we click that little require button. And for every single field, let's make sure we're not making the rookie mistake of just leaving the file name here, or the field name, I can speak, the field name here, and instead make sure we're phrasing these as questions that very clearly state what we expect as the input. So in this case, request title, what the heck does that mean? Mr., Mrs., what? No, this first part is going to be the kind of question that shows up on the form, and the help text below it is where we can actually write some, smaller explanation as to what that means. So here you can see the help text saying, how should we refer to this project? Next up, work request info. Again, not very helpful, so we're going to rename this and all the other ones below it. Okay, so I've added some questions here and some help text throughout. This adds a little bit more clarity to the whole form. And do notice how I've addressed the urgency field. This is something that's a little pro tip that I'm going to sprinkle in for anybody at any time using priority fields. If you have a priority field, we need to acknowledge the fact that what is a priority for you is not necessarily a priority for me. So it's going to be very important that if we use a field like this, we have some kind of shared definition. Inside of SmartSuite itself, when we're actually in the views, we can utilize the field settings to actually add some descriptions right here that explain what each of these fields are, what's the help text, what's the meaning. But in these forms, we do not see this help text per se. So it's important that we use the help text in the form to describe this. So in this particular form, you can see how I wrote in the help text a breakdown of what each of the things mean. This gives us a common language, so what the employee views as urgent and what I view as urgent can be kind of leveled out so we have a common language. Now, once we have all of these questions going, this is already looking pretty good. We've made the things required that are indeed required. Now we're going to move on to the submit button. This one's very basic, but I think most people will just leave the word submit here. And to me, that's a missed opportunity. Why not just make it a little bit more fun or applicable to what we're talking about? So in this case, let's think about our brand voice. If we're a fun, sassy brand, we might say something like, hit the easy button, saying that, hey, once you submit this request, it's going to be done. It's the easy way to go through this project request, or get it done, those kinds of things. Or you can be boring and we can just do send in request. But either way, let's avoid the boring default submit button, guys. We can be more creative than that, especially if we are a marketing agency. All right, so send in request is our boring option here. Now, once we have this, we're going to flip over to settings. In the settings area, all we can really do at this point is to determine what happens after submission. Now, for most people, keeping things real simple, what we're going to want to have here is just a little message saying, hey, we've got your message. So here we have a display message. This will show up anytime the form is submitted as the after submission confirmation page. However, once again, if we want to be more fancy, we might want to put a redirect URL here. What does that mean? That just means when someone hits the submit button, or whatever more creative variety of button name we have, it will send them to a different page. It'll still submit the form, don't worry, but it'll send them to a page that you can fully customize. So you might have a page on your website called What to Expect After Submitting a Work Request. That page has its own URL, which you could put right here, and you could have a video explaining what happens next, a real-time view of the project timeline or the lead time that you currently have, how back-ordered you are, whatever. That could be a custom page you design if you have a little bit more time. But for now, we'll keep it simple and just keep with the display message. Now, heading back over to the edit form option, we've pretty much wrapped up all the things we have. The last thing we need to do in order to make this form available to our external stakeholders is to click Share Form. This is going to generate a shareable link that we can send to anybody, anywhere, and have them fill it in to create a new request. This link can be sent to your clients in whatever format that you prefer to use, whether it's Slack, a text message, an email. But once you send it out to those clients, you ensure that all of those responses get sent to the same spot. So you no longer have to wrangle a bunch of type forms and Google Forms and text messages and emails. No, all of your client requests will end up in the same one spot of this one app inside of SmartSuite, which is pretty convenient. Now that we have everything set up here though, the last thing we want to do is test out this form for ourselves. To do that, we're going to click on the Preview in a New Tab button to open up our form as if we were a client. Once we're here, we can see all of the different fields that we just created. First off, we've got the name of the request. We have the description of work. We have the company name. Once we fill out this form, we have the ability to click Send in Request. Once we submit the form, we see our confirmation message that we typed in the last step, and we should be good to go. To finally confirm that though, we're gonna go into our own Work Requests by Company and locate our request to make sure it's there safely. Here we can see that this request did indeed come in with all of the fields that we had added. So this is how we can make a basic work request form for this particular use case. However, I wanna show you one variation of this in case you wanna take it a little bit further. In this example, we have folks add their company name into the form so we know who we are working for. But if you wanted to be a little bit more specific with your form, you could also choose to have this be customized so that people are actually choosing from a dropdown of existing clients. What that might look like is having a client linked record field in the form itself. So to show you what this looks like in the form, it looks something like this. We have client, we have name request, and all this other stuff. So rather than having to type out my company name, I can just have a drop down of all of the potential names I could choose from. Please only do this route if you are using anonymized client IDs or client codes, or you somehow don't need to maintain client confidentiality. However, if you are trying to maintain client confidentiality, I want to be very clear, you do not want to do this approach. Just have people type it in, it's okay. But for the rest of you, this could be a nice option to make sure that you can organize what the request is for. This can also be great if this form is going to be used internally. So if you have team members who are on the phone with your clients and then they get a request and they're submitting it internally, it could be great to have this linked record field right here. So that way you don't have another text field where there could be potential typos. You're instead just selecting from the dropdown who exactly you have on the phone, who is requesting work. If you were using this form internally, so you had team members in charge of it, I would also take a few moments to add some additional internal forms, because when it comes to your team members, you can generally request a little bit more information than when your clients who are super busy are asking for your help. One of the fields I might add would be something like a signature field to make sure we can track who is signing off on this or who is submitting this request. Or I could add something like a file attachments form so I could connect any deliverables or examples that the client was sharing with me via email or via my phone. So I'm going to add these fields in. Again, just like everything else, you would want to add a customized name, maybe some help text. But when we drag these fields onto the thing and we add some great explanation to them, if we go back to our overall form and refresh that, we can now see this all come to life as we have our whole field here, all of our pieces ready to go, and the ability to easily add attachments if we want to add additional context. So that concludes this beginner tutorial of how to go about creating a client request form inside of SmartSuite. We've talked through some key features, some things to watch out for, and even how we could expand this client request form if we wanted to have a more internal or super powered user filling it out. There's a certain convenience that comes with just having a link in a form that you can fill in from anywhere to make it really easy for your team, for your clients, and for yourself to get data into SmartSuite with a SmartSuite? What did I just say? There's really nothing that is easier than that form link. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know where SmartSuite came from. Thank you guys so much for watching this video though. I hope this was a helpful primer on forms. If you have certain use cases you'd like to see or certain other words you'd like to see me butcher, please do leave them in the comments below. I'm waiting for someone to leave like a long tongue twister down there. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this was helpful. Until next time, enjoy the process.